my name is Will Hall. I was a scholarship on a scholarship at Watford. I now play for a Step 3 side called Hanwell Town. Whilst doing that, I'm also at Loughborough University doing my studies. But I'm going to be taking you through today my experiences when I was younger, maybe around your age, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, on when I played abroad in Germany as a young footballer, and the benefits and the experiences and any troubles and everything that is involved in playing football abroad, really. So what will be covered? My experience, how I felt it went, the things that I learned, the things that I took out of it, all the benefits and experiences of playing abroad. As you can probably tell, there's loads of different things that you encounter that you necessarily wouldn't do if you just stayed at home, or even just in the same country, dealing with different cultures, different languages, different styles of training sessions, etc. And dealing with other players who have also played abroad, whether it's, again, my level, whether it's a higher professional level, or even right at the top. So we'll be going through 3 other players who also did the same thing, and see how they've done. So my experience personally, as I said, right now, I now play for Hanwell Town. I previously played for Watford, but if you cast yourselves back 10 years now, I was a 10-year-old moving over to Germany. For the first 9 years of my life, I just completely played football for fun, had no intention of going further. Obviously, everyone has their dream of trying to be the best they can and be the professional footballer and be the best footballer in the world, and making all these imaginary goals in your head, which are amazing. But for me, I never truly thought I would make it to anywhere that was as structured and detailed as where I was in Germany. So I moved over to Germany when I was turning 10, and I moved to the International School of Düsseldorf. So this was a school where it was in the sort of northwest of Germany, but it was catered to anyone from anywhere around the world. So I would have a Japanese boy to my left and a Spanish girl to my right, and across the table there was a Mexican girl, and behind me there was a French boy. There was people from all around the world coming to my school. So that was an incredible experience in itself. And I then decided to play for their football team, which was not like a normal football team, school football team, where you sort of play with your friends and play once a week. It was a trial thing where you would train 3 times a week and play a game once a week. So it was a very professional environment, and this was really new to me because I was only 10 years old, and prior to this, I would play grassroots football where it was all a lot of fun, and then I moved into a situation where it was a very much professional environment where you were very much drilled, and there was a lot more detail in the game, which I loved, and it was a very different experience for me. I obviously had to learn the German language. Sadly, I can't teach it anymore, but back then I got a grasp of it and had to learn very quickly that I couldn't go to a supermarket and just speak normally. I needed to learn their culture and what their language was. But also, not only playing in Germany against other schools near us, other international schools, we would then go on tours all over Europe, playing other private academies, taking trips with the school and finding various other cultures throughout Europe, not just Germany. So that was very. It was a very new experience of having to travel with your friends to a different country and play teams who spoke a different language to the different language you were playing in already, if that makes sense. So it was very new, and it was very slightly daunting. But once you get your head around it and you find the different ways to get around it, it is such a great experience. And as I said, where I was at school, where people from all over the world would come and learn, I was playing with people in my team that were, as I said, all around the world, and learning from your teammates who have been from various different backgrounds and have very different beliefs and different cultural experiences, and talking to others and understanding their viewpoints and values and opinions may be very different to yours. And ultimately that makes you grow up so quickly, because you learn other different cultures from other people's viewpoints. So into the football side, I had to very quickly adapt to the different coaches that I'd be part of, play under, sorry. Before, I would be under, players' dads in a Sunday league team and in a grassroots team, where it was just a lot of fun, and my dad would take the team for a little bit, and then someone else's dad would take it, and it was all a lot of fun and not very professional. Going into an international school where you would then have German coaches who were very direct and very strict and very structured and experienced in what they did, which was a very different experience for me, and one that I really enjoyed, and one that I took time to adapt to, but ultimately took hold of with both hands and really sort of enjoyed. And I had to adapt to the way that they would do different things, like their training sessions and their style of football. Going from Sunday league, where I would just sort of they would kick the ball as far as up the pitch, and you'd have to try and deal with it then, to very structured training sessions where you would start doing passing patterns and start understanding, okay, this is where I need to be on the football pitch at this time, whether it's a centre back or a striker or wherever you are on the pitch. Much more structured, much more detailed in every single thing that they did. And you'll find in different countries there might be different styles of football. For example, the Spanish way is very different to the German way. The Spanish way is very tiki-taka, moving the ball as quick as you can, one touch, two touch passing, let the ball do the work. Whereas the Germans were a lot more structured, and you press together, and you'd all be one cohesive team, where you would, as I said, all press together, all be sat in a block, and making sure that you were as organised as possible. So they're very different styles of football wherever you go. And so much so that when I started, I was a striker, and they looked at me after a week of training through trials, and they went, no, I think you're better as a defender. And you'll find that different people's viewpoints and opinions may change how you are as a player. For example, beforehand, I was a striker who was always the biggest person in the team and would just try and bully others, to the Germans wanting me to be a centre half, a centre back, where I would do the same thing and be the tallest player on the pitch and be strong and aggressive. But I'd play from a much different part of the pitch and learn how to defend and learn how to put my body on the line and win headers and win duels and learn a very different side of the game, because I took that step to go abroad and play football in a different culture and a different experience. So why footballers might consider playing abroad? Well, there's many different things as to why uh, a player might choose to do this and the benefits that you can get from this. Now, there might be much better career opportunities abroad where you may, because the competition in England and the UK is so cutthroat and so difficult. There might be other opportunities where you might be able to go to Holland or Germany or France, where there may be less competition and more opportunities of places. Equally, you may decide that you want a higher level of competition. You might not be able to see that in this level of football, where the British traditional way of playing is a lot more aggressive and being big and strong. And if you're a much more technical player who likes to get on the ball and moving it and let the ball do the work rather than the man, again, that might be something better for the Spanish way of football. And you might find that you might get further in your career moving to somewhere where your style of play is much more suited to where you are, if that makes sense. As well as this, moving to abroad is also incredible for both a cultural and professional growth. Going to different places allows you to understand the different cultures and the different beliefs, and gives you a different sense of different outlook on life, and understand that if you're surrounded by people that are so similar to you the whole time in the UK, that might be a good thing for some people, but for others it might be good to grasp out and understand different viewpoints from different places and understand where you might fit in best. Now, the grass may not always be greener, but there might be situations where you're in a situation where you're not enjoying being in a certain place, and an opportunity abroad might be the best thing for you, where you can go have a fresh start and enjoy playing football and be in a different environment. Now, as I was saying about the exposure to high levels of competition, there is a higher quality of training and coaching abroad, where it's very different for different types of players. Now, when I was at Germany, the difference I would say between the style of training from the UK to, well, for me, Germany, but different places may be different, is that I found in the UK that every type of training session was very similar, in that you would do a passing drill, into a possession drill, into a small-sided game, where everyone was together and everyone would do the same thing, and it'd be a very generic training session. Now, I went to Germany and it was very different. It was very detailed and it was very specific to each player. Now, this could have been a passing pattern similar to the UK, but it was very specific to each player's position. So rather than me standing in one place, moving to another, moving to another, moving to another, in practically a circle or a square or whatever, I was very structured in my position as a left centre back, where I would make passes very similar to what I do in a game. It was very game specific for certain positions. I would also go and take time specifically with my group of defenders, and we would work on defending specific scenarios, whereas the attackers would go and attack very different scenarios away from each other. So we could work on our specific areas of the pitch rather than doing a generic possession drill where you're not really learning your specific position role of the game, if that makes sense. There are different quality opponents and different playing styles. As I've said before, I would go from playing long and trying to win the fight ball to being very structured in the way I played. We would all have to press together, and we would all have to be in the very specific the pitch when we're playing the ball around. We would all be on the same page at the same time, as well as having a greater opportunity to improve because you're very much on the same wavelength every time, and you know very structured what you need to do at what certain time during the game. There's also different culture experiences and growths. As I said, you are immersing yourself into a new culture, and you are learning different things that you wouldn't be able to learn if you just stayed at home. You get to see different cultures, ways of thinking, where for me personally, the Germans were a lot more, as I said, very stern and very honest and very true to themselves. A lot more than I'd say my experience in the UK. Now, everyone's experience is different, and someone might go over to Germany and think somewhere else. Similar, someone might go to France or Italy or Spain and have a very different experience to me because I went to Germany. And it's all about understanding the new different cultures and how they work, and taking the best parts of every little culture to progress as both the player and the person. You also get to learn new languages and traditions. As I said, that was a little bit tough for me at the start, but once I got my head around it, it was so much more beneficial. I could then speak 2 different languages, and I could talk to one of my friends in English and another that was German who couldn't speak English because he was very new to the school. I'd start speaking to him. It was very good in that it would allow your brain to develop so much quicker as a 10-year-old because you are learning a very valuable new skill, which ties into the personal development, where I am growing up so much quicker because I am not only doing what everyone else is, I'm doing it in a different language. So my brain is developing so much quicker because I am having to do some sort of science or any form of language, any form of subject in a different language, and it makes your brain work even harder, which allows you to grow up even quicker, being more adaptable and more suited to different situations. And it also enhances career opportunities. Now, I ended up playing different teams, one being a Luton pre-academy, whilst I was playing for the International School of Düsseldorf. And they came over on a tour, and we ended up playing them. And I ended up, from that, when I came back to the UK, signing for Luton's pre-academy because they had watched me in a game when I played them. And it's about being able to expose yourself in different scenarios, giving lots of different eyes and lots of different scouts an opportunity to see you play. If you are staying in a very small bubble, for me, where I lived in Watford, only the eyes of Hertfordshire, if you will, it gives you a far less chance of finding a professional club or finding a better team than if you are, if you are capable of going to a different place and having a completely new set of people watch you play and have more people's opinions on your game, because everyone's opinion in football is completely different. Some managers may love you, some managers may not. And if you're in a situation where all the bridges are burnt in one specific place, where you can't get higher than where you currently are and where you want to go, you might need to go somewhere else where you have a bigger exposure to larger clubs or different academies, because you have a fresh set of eyes on you watching the way you play. And it also gives you a potential to play more leagues and in more countries, and be able to, again, grow yourself as a player and as a person, because you're learning different styles of play and different opinions on how the game should be played. And you can take different things from each part and build yourself into a very well-rounded player. And also, as I said before, about seeing different eyes and having different eyes on you whilst you play, you can create a network and build relationships whilst playing. Now, what I mean by networking is you can meet many more people and have a bigger group of people who know you and know what style of player you are, and can then lead to more opportunities where you are, rather than only being able to have the number of 6 football managers phone numbers to 20, 25. This then gives you far more of a chance to be in a position where you're at the right place and the right team, because you have found more teams to be a part of. As well as this, meeting different players in those teams who may know different players at other teams, which might allow you to get into their team, if that makes sense. Rather than just having a small bubble, rather than having a small bubble of teams to go to, you might grasp out and be able to go to, abroad, and to broaden your horizons on where you can go and play. Now, with this, all these benefits all these different benefits are amazing, but it also comes with some, I wouldn't like to call drawbacks, because ultimately everything you do is an experience, and you can take positives out of it and learn how you can do things better next time, or allow it to progress, allow it to develop you as a player and as a person. But I also found that throughout my time, I would also get quite homesick, more towards the start. Once you build through and make friends and establish yourself in a community, it's a lot easier. But from the start, it can be quite hard to separate yourself from your family and friends. You can start missing home and the comforts of everyone around you, and all that familiarity of everyone who's all your friends and family. And it can be a very daunting experience going somewhere maybe on your own. For me, luckily, I wasn't. I was with my immediate family, but I couldn't take my extended family and all my friends from school. I couldn't take them over with me. So it can be quite a daunting experience where you might only have, 4 or 5 people that you know in this country when you first arrive. But I found that once you get through that tough, daunting stage at the start, where you're a little bit worried, and you start making friends, and you start putting yourself out there and giving yourself a chance to make it an amazing experience and almost replicate what you already had at home, that homesickness can leave very quickly, because you suddenly really enjoy where you are and enjoy the experiences that you're witnessing, and start to feel like this is home itself. equally, whilst you're trying to put yourself out there, it can be a bit of a struggle with the language barriers. Luckily for me, I went to an international school where, okay, I couldn't speak to the man to my left who was German and couldn't really speak a lot of English, but I could speak to the girl on my right who was American, who obviously spoke the same language as me. So it can be very tough at the start, where you are adjusting to the new language. You're trying to do things as very normal day-to-day things, and it's not as easy because you are trying to say 2-3 words to explain something because you can't be as detailed. But as I said, as time progresses and you learn the language and you meet the friends that you have along the way, and whether you can communicate with them or you can't at the start, you start to become more confident and more willing to put yourself out there, and you start to learn the language, and ultimately you then gain a very precious new skill of speaking multiple languages, and you are making more friends, which is obviously amazing. And it's very good that you are capable to be very adaptive in different situations, being able to deal with change and figure it out on the fly, if that makes sense. I feel like this all moving abroad allows you to develop all these skills, especially in different situations like training, where, as I said, where I normally just train where I'm doing a normal passing pattern, follow the ball like you normally do, into a possession drill where it might be just 4v4, keep hold of the ball, to very structured and meaningful training sessions. At the start, it was very difficult for me because I couldn't really get my head around why I'd be training over here and other players would be training over here. But ultimately, it would allow you to experience different styles of training and different styles of play. And once you get your head around it, it allows you to have more experience and understand what might suit you best. Where for me now, I really don't enjoy normal training sessions where everyone's doing the same thing. I much prefer training sessions where it's specific to me and I can get the most out of that training session because I'm doing exactly what I would do in a game in training, if that makes sense. And for those who have benefited, or those who have taken the risk, it can be a massive benefit. As I said, for me, I think this was huge for me because it allowed me at only the age of 10 to grow up much faster, mature, experience different styles of not only training but life outside of football. And it allows you to be a very different version of the person you were before, because you get to grow and add more tools to your basket, if that makes sense. Similarly to someone like Jude Bellingham, who is very different to me, and he's right at the top of the game. But it's the same thing of, he was 16 years old and he decided to, rather than stay at Birmingham and play very good football in the Championship, he wanted to take that risk and go abroad and learn and develop and mature and figure his own way in a very different country. Also playing a much higher level of football at Borussia Dortmund. And as we can all see, he absolutely smashed it and has then got a bigger move to a better team in another different country, having to start again and having to develop in a different place again. But all of these things can allow you to mature and grow and progress all as a player, but also as a person. Similarly to Ben Godfrey, he was a little bit not quite as good as Jude Bellingham, but still a very established Premier League player. He moved to Atalanta in Italy, so a very different style of football over there, where for him it was perfect, and for me I'd love it as well. Very much specific to defending and love the art of defending. Where as a centre half, and for Ben Godfrey, who was also a centre half slash fullback, you can learn their style of defending and how good they are and how dedicated they are to that side of the game, where you have unbelievable talents of Maldini, Bonucci, Chiellini, to name a few, who have really mastered the art of defending because the Italians care so much about that side of the ball. And then another example, Fraser Hornby. Now, the reason why I've added him in is it doesn't have to be at the highest level. You don't have to be at the top league, in the top teams like Atalanta, like Borussia Dortmund, like Real Madrid, like the Champions League teams. Fraser Hornby was a player who played in the Championship, who decided to move over to the second division in Germany. Now, he did this because he felt that he could find a better team for his level and learn a different side of the game and experience different cultures. And ultimately, he's been doing really well this season because of it. Similarly to one of my old teammates, Adrian Blake, who I haven't named in this presentation, he was 17 years old and was at Watford at the same time as me, and was linked to various different clubs like Tottenham, like Chelsea, to name a couple. But he ended up deciding to move to PSV Eindhoven in Netherlands because, apologies, not PSV, it was a different Dutch team, because he decided that he thought the best thing for his career was to go to a different team in a different country, maybe not as good as Tottenham or Chelsea, but to learn and grow and progress as a player and as a person, whilst also having more opportunities at a bigger club than Watford, but not as big as Tottenham and Chelsea, where he might have a chance to break into the first team, where if he was at Tottenham or Chelsea, it'd be a lot harder to break into those big teams who buy players for 60, 70, 80 million. And now he's smashing it out in Netherlands and reaping the rewards because he took that risk. And overall, I believe that playing abroad can be a massive experience and a massive way to develop as a player and as a person. Being able to be adaptable, be open-minded, and experience different cultures. And overall, I think it can enhance different careers because it allows you to open yourself and expose yourself to very different eyes and different experiences in the game, where you might not be able to take those if you stayed in that little cocoon where you are from. Ultimately, I think it is something that every player should try and experience. Now, it's not easy to do. It can be very expensive and it can be very daunting and a risk. But I feel that to progress and to develop and to learn, I think playing abroad is a massive way to do all those things. Now, is there any questions at all? I know we have a couple people in the group chat. If anyone in the call, if anyone for the next 2-3 minutes wants to come in and ask a question, feel free. Again, if anyone has any questions, please put in the chat. If not, Oren doesn't have any questions. Okay. Um, well, thank you very much. That was my presentation on playing abroad. I hope you all learned something. I hope there was something that you could take away from this. And even if you don't play abroad, you can still appreciate the idea of it and think about ways that we can be more open-minded to different experiences and different cultures. And ultimately, yeah, thank you very, very much for listening. Thank you.
Will, thank you, mate. Top man. We'll catch up soon. Boys, we do have one more masterclass this week. That's going to be on Friday. Okay, so hopefully Oren will see you on that one. Fellas, if you're watching this back before Friday, then hopefully you can join us there as well. Will, once again, thank you. Really appreciate it, and we'll speak soon.
No worries. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers. Bye bye. Bye.